my name is Mim Brooks Fawcett. I'm the Executive Director and Chief Curator here. I started in July of 2006, which was an interesting time because the museum had just gone through a rebrand, trying to establish a new identity. We actually had a new name at that point, and we'll cover a little bit about that later. But what I'm going to do is take you all on a little walk, a historical walk through the museum and through the museum's history, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the museum today and art and culture weaving its way into our lives, not only in Attleboro, but just us as individuals and the impact that art and culture has on all of us. In 1923, 10 women gathered at Clara Perry's house to chat about forming an Attleboro chapter of the American Federation of Art. I consider these 10 women a visionary group, and many dedicated individuals that followed as well have always recognized the positive impact that art and culture can have on our lives and on our community. Now, just as a point of information for those of you who are interested, the American Federation of Art was founded in 1906 and was launched as a national body to advance the cause of art in America. The idea had great support from President Theodore Roosevelt. In 1916, the Federation was incorporated in New York State as a nonprofit institution. And by that time, membership included 223 organizations representing every art museum in the United States. Moving ahead, in 1929, the Attleboro chapter evolved and was incorporated as the Attleboro Museum, with meetings and exhibits held at the Attleboro Public Library. And you can see the list of incorporators here. Now, keep in mind that unlike the custom of the time, the museum's articles of incorporation were signed by all of these women using their first names. So for instance, the document reads Clara B. Perry rather than Mrs. E.I. Perry. Go girls, all right? Yeah. No, I know, and I have the articles of incorporation. I have a copy of it, and it's kind of, it's a little hard to make out, but you've got Tilda, Nancy, Diana. Good for them. As time went on, the museum moved into the Attleboro Courthouse, and in 1940 it traveled to the Bronson Building, and the name was changed to the Attleboro Museum of Art and History, likely due to a gift from Mrs. Walter Kendall of papers, prints, and Civil War memorabilia from Kendall's father, Major Everett Horton. There's a little sign from that time, and also some of the Civil War memorabilia. This is a little shot of an exhibition that happened in 2012 here at the museum of some of the memorabilia from the Civil War collection. You might wonder, how does this all fit into an art museum and an art exhibition? And what I did while curating that was to incorporate imagery that had the bayonets and had the swords, had all of the pieces that were on display within the artwork. So you could get to see how those pieces from that period were used in art. In October 1951, the group took over the old casino building in Capron Park. Many residents still recall the museum's exhibits and classes in that space, which is now the administrative home to the City of Attleboro's Parks and Forestry Department. By the mid-50s, with an active schedule of art and culture programs, the museum was recognized as it was written, an asset to the community. With an increasingly active role in Attleboro, the organization outgrew the casino's 800 square foot space. And in 1994, it was relocated to its current address, the former home of London's department store. I can't tell you how many times a month somebody says to me, you know, this was London's department store. And we all joke about it. And we had our Winter Night Festival this past Saturday night, and 5,000 people came into the museum, and every other person said, you know, this was London's department store. I shopped downstairs. Santa was downstairs. And then I heard from a police officer that there was I never was here during London's, but there was a horse downstairs. So I think he might have, I don't know, what was he thinking, but like a riding horse out of fabric and, right, okay, that's the first time I've heard that one.
Because the children's department was downstairs.
Right. So, and he remembered that horse, and that makes sense because I consider this often when I'm curating. He was a child. So he was looking at the belly of the horse, you know, from his viewpoint. And when we curate here, you know, I have to be aware of who's looking at what and what point, where their eye level is. Anne and Hope, they had a horse also. So it must have been a distraction, like something for the kids to do while mom would pick out the uniforms. You know. So, but I also lately have been hearing whenever someone talks about London's, in the same breath, Anne and Hope. So that they're getting married together. Interesting. Okay, so, right. I'm going to show you an image. This is the dedication of London's department store in 1947. So our facade doesn't look like this, but at the same time it sort of does. You know, you can see the structure, and it's wonderful to see the banner head, the London's type up above. I do want to say that in the early 1990s, as David London was about to put the building we're in tonight up for sale, Mayor Judy Robbins asked him to loan the building to the Attleboro Public Library for a year and a half. All along, the museum had been looking at this location and raised funds to purchase while the library used the space. The move came at the request of various community members and Judy in the hopes of revitalizing the downtown. That, coupled with a generous donation of $100,000 from the Otmar family, another $100,000 willed to the museum by William Fraser, and tremendous monetary and in-kind support from countless individuals, really far too many to mention, all that formed a creative, dedicated community that provided the necessary means and the vision to continue the great experiment started by those 10 women who used their first names in 1923. And I do want to recognize the talent as well. The broad range of artists that I hear about that left their mark on the museum that are still creating today. For example, Ted Sharon and his graceful work in oil, Chris Okino and her vibrant watercolors. And by the way, Chris has been teaching and selling out her watercolor classes here lately, so she's been doing quite a bit of instruction for adults. Some of you might remember Paula DeSimone, highly styled 2D and 3D works. And I do want to recognize those that we've lost, and this is by no means the full list, but I do want to recognize them for their strength as artists and impact on the museum's community. Barbara Corrigan, June Dean, Tony Nizio, Stephen Boyle, so many more. We're going to fast forward to 2005. This is Malcolm Greer. I have my Master of Fine Arts degree in graphic design, and I went to BU. And when I was in design school, Malcolm Greer was sort of an icon. And when I started here in 2006, I remember hearing that Malcolm Greer volunteered his time to create the new brand ID for the museum and establish kind of a look and feel for communication and for marketing. And I just thought, no way. who was the sweetest man and just funny and quite a peach, but with an amazing design sense. And the museum was very fortunate to have him and his design firm donate their skills to the museum. So, in 2005, the organization, which at the time went by the name Attleboro Museum Center for the Arts, was in search of a new brand identity. The leaders were fortunate to have Malcolm Greer designers help to visually articulate the essence of the museum with its tagline of Arts for Everyone and a new logo. And this is the logo that we still use today. So many changes, but the common denominator was always the impact that art and culture have on our quality of life. And I've highlighted a couple of phrases from these statements here. And we'll talk a little bit more about them. But art giving meaning to our lives, understanding our world through the arts, increasing our self-awareness, and being open to new ideas and experiences thanks to another individual's vision. Art and culture also enhance the pride that comes along with programs, movements, education, and experiences that enrich all ages. You are all stuffed into the only available space in this museum right now because we have an exhibition on view. We are setting up another exhibition on the other side. The image that you're looking at on the screen is actually the space behind you. And the exhibition that we have on view right now is entitled Influencer. Every year, the museum shows selections from the permanent collection. We really can't show everything that we have every year, but we do try and bring out pieces that haven't been seen in a while or are important regarding the time that the museum is in. Since it's our 100th anniversary, this exhibition, Influencer, came about because I think it's so important for young artists, or really artists of any kind, to look at artwork that has endured the test of time and to create work from it. That's where influencer came in. These days, influencer has another meaning, and I wanted that to be what you thought was going on here. But really, what you see is a group of 9 to 13-year-olds being influenced by a 100-year-old painting of a still life of peaches and creating their own spin on the work. So, two of the artists that are here looking at their work on view based on this piece by Dunning that was created over 100 years ago. So, I hate to make you do this, but turn and take a look. You can see that we have the work from the students hanging over here, as well as over here. You're totally fine, I'm sorry. Well, Donahue. And then you can see this piece by Robert Spear Dunning that was created, as I said, over 100 years ago. This piece was on view. It's from our permanent collection. It was on view for all the students to see, and then they decided to do their own thing. Wow, is it right? Bravo. And I remember going down, they did this over 3 weeks. The class was an hour and a half. So every Saturday for 3 weeks, they would go down, they would study the Dunning piece, and then they would create their own work. Extraordinary for a 9-year-old to be doing this. And even more extraordinary was watching their moms and dads and grandparents come in and just drop their jaws. And to see all of the work together has a very commanding presence as well. And then knowing that you're looking at someone, work from someone who's in 4th grade, it's pretty amazing. That's why we love coming to work here. The premise, again, of Influencer. It's designed to have us look back so that we can build a better and more creative future. And it shows us that art made decades ago can influence the next generation of artists and set them on a positive and imaginative path. And really, I do find it exciting to see how a 5-year-old views work from the 1920s and how a preteen can make those peaches look so juicy. It's great. You're going to have a little bit of time after the presentation to be able to look around and see work that, other examples of the influence of a piece from the permanent collection and the students' interpretations. I love this picture. I know, she's so proud. So this is one of our artists who has work right around the corner, and her name is Mackenzie. Mackenzie's in the 5 to 8-year-old class, and they were given a vase to work from, as well as a leaded glass window. And you can see those two works on display and then see the influence that those pieces had on the work that was created by the students. I consider our teachers champions. It's not easy to teach art to children. It's not easy to create art. It's definitely not easy to teach art to children who have gone through a pandemic, or to teach anybody anything that's gone through a pandemic. But what I do think is important to know is that the teachers become very fulfilled when they are instructing. And this is a quote from one of our teachers. It continues on to the next slide. And this is not uncommon, that often students come in with trepidation and worry about what they can't do, right? Please, I'm going to raise my hand. Sometimes I worry about what I can't do. Anybody here have that problem? You know, rather than thinking of what I can do. And then the teachers put the students at ease. They become familiar with the materials. They realize that they're here to create. We're not judging them. There's no wrong way of painting a peach. You know, you really can just express yourself. And this is, in most cases, the happy place for a lot of these kids, where, yeah, maybe they would be playing soccer on a Saturday morning, but instead they're running in to get out pastels and paint a peach. So when we are talking about creating, we really do stress that don't worry about what you can't do. We are here to put a mark on the page and to bring that page to life. The instructor, whose name is Cindy, goes on, and Cindy says, the process of exploration and growth is sort of the next phase of creating. And then some of the most fulfilling moments happen when a student that came in with a lot of fear and concern and anxiety suddenly transforms into a student that has confidence and enthusiasm. And the students end up holding up their work and showing a sense of pride that they did not have when they came in. And I think the quality of expression comes through no matter the age. Often, art triggers a memory or a personal connection. And I've been speaking a lot in context for the 100th anniversary of the museum with the folks who come in and look at the artwork here to find out, A, why they've come in, what do they feel when they're looking at the art, and overall how they feel when they leave. And oftentimes I ask them some very direct questions because I enjoy data. And I also often want to know why somebody buys a piece of art. And one art buyer recently said that they saw a landscape. This was in our members exhibition, the exhibition before Influencer. And it was their grandmother's garden. They were insistent that it was their grandmother's garden. It wasn't even in the same state, you know, but this person was insistent. And the oil painting that was in the gallery ended up going home with that person because they had this incredible connection to the landscape that they saw. Admirers of a painting may refer to a masterwork that they viewed on an international trip. Oh, those peaches really remind me of when I was in fill in the blank. And I went to this fill-in-the-blank museum and was really moved by this piece. So oftentimes you end up doing a little bit of time travel or a different, you go into a different country because you're remembering something that you saw and felt. These references are rewarding and help us to contextualize the work that we're currently viewing. There's a bright light that shines within these connections and these personal discoveries. I'm going to take you on a little bit of a tour. Oh, Marion, there's Martha Briggs. Yeah, that's right. We were just talking about a portrait that we have of Seth Briggs, the other half to Martha Briggs, who is shown in this exhibition, which was called Character Development. This was the equivalent to our permanent collection exhibition that you see here. I pulled out pieces from our permanent collection, portraits, and had artists do their 2020, maybe 2019 version of our permanent collection. So here you have Martha. Here you have Martha. And the artist that created the piece that's next to her, she imagined as Martha's great-great-great-granddaughter. So you can see that Martha has a choker on. She's looking good, right? And then Marta, which was the name of the piece, was created with a choker also, and she was supposed to be a descendant of Martha Briggs. In the far corner, you can see another example where we're using a permanent collection piece, very classic portrait, very prim and proper, and you can see how the artist took that portrait and decided to put a very current spin on this work. This was all done as a kind of an offshoot to a partnership that we have with the National Endowment for the Arts NEA Big Read program. And every September, we work on programs with the Big Read Committee and create an exhibition that is a derivative of one of the books that Attleboro is reading. One of my favorite programs. I have another exhibition up here. We also do national juried shows. So if you come in between June and July, it's likely that you'll see work from Alaska all the way to the Sunshine State. So we have work from all of the states. Well, there's an opportunity for artists all throughout the country to submit artwork, and then a juror combs through it, and then approximately 100 pieces are selected to be in the gallery. The gallery never looks the same from show to show. I make the people who install here crazy. And they're really nice to me still. And I know that I make them crazy because sometimes I will move the walls in a way that I haven't done for 16 years, and it's impossible to get our lighting on the walls. So I apologize, but they make miracles happen. Around the corner from this peach influencer wall is an evergreen influencer wall. And what I've been doing in relation to the permanent collection shows for the past couple of years is trying to get engagement, input from the community. So there's a prompt on the wall around the corner that asks you, as gallery goers, to write down who your influencers are. Maybe it was an artist, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a spiritual leader. In some cases, someone asked me, well, what if it's somebody that I really don't like, and I live my life trying to not be like them? Absolutely. Glass half empty. But that, of course, that could be it. There's no wrong answer. So you can not only be part of the exhibition, but you can see how many people really love their grandma, and how many people have answered this question in a really beautiful way. And that is important for us to bring everyone into the gallery, not only to look, but to be part of the exhibition. I mentioned earlier the Winter Night Festival, where we had quite a few people walking through. Just a show of hands, was anyone at the Winter Night Festival on Saturday? Oh, good, great. Yeah, so the police estimate that we had between 4,500 to 5,000 people. Yeah, I would say that's probably true. I think all of them put their foot up on the wall here, because we've been doing a lot of cleaning since that time, but it's good. And our exhibition space had influencers so that folks could could view the artwork. And then we also had a section that was emblematic of our community partnerships. It's a program that we call Creating Awareness, where artists use their creativity to shine a light on a particular cause. So on Saturday, I had 14 artists that were working on luminaria bags that are going to be saved for, they are so pretty, right? I'm going to show you all some more of them in a minute, but the Greater Attleboro Relay for Life, which is a partnership or a committee that is out of the American Cancer Society, that group does a relay, a walk around the track every summer in June. This year it's June 16th to the night to June 17th. It's at Norton High School. These luminaria bags, these white paper bags, are going to have glow sticks inside of them, and they are going to be all along the track in Norton. And I wanted to create awareness for this cause, this very important cause, and the 14 artists did as well, and they created their own bags that will ultimately be silent auctioned off at the relay, and people can write the name of someone who has been impacted by cancer on the bags. And it could be someone you've lost to cancer, a survivor, a caretaker. Here's an example of another one of the bags. They're beautiful. And now everyone is interested in purchasing these bags. The funding goes to the Cancer Society. The artists all have some connection, don't we all, to the cause. And it is a great way to use art to drive home the importance of some of these causes that, particularly during COVID, weren't getting the attention that they need. So that was going on this side of the gallery. Outside was a 12-foot snow queen who used our clay studio as her green room. And yes, she can, Jerry was asking me this, she can duck to get out outside. So it was actually really beautiful to see her inside the gallery as well as outside with the 5,000 guests. So this is a big undertaking. It's something we have to plan for, and we're actually really honored to be part of it and to have Attleboro come into the museum and enjoy the whole festival downtown during a time of year where we all need to be together. It's very isolating. We've also been working on a lot of public art, taking the art that we have here and bringing it outside. And one initiative was a program called Signs of the Times, where we had banners up on light poles that were all through the downtown, and there was an audio tour that helped describe the pieces that you saw on the banners, and these were all pieces from our permanent collection. And then lately I've been working on a program called Think Outside the Box, and it's we're embellishing the utility boxes that you see next to traffic lights in the downtown area. There are 14 of them that are up already. There's a little QR code that's on the green strip of all of these boxes, and if you bring your phone and put it up to it, you'll learn all about the program and the artists that created the artwork, the description behind the artwork, and it's free art. And the other day, I saw somebody doing it. And at first I thought, what is that person? I can be kind of cynical, because I'm from New York. But I thought, what is he doing? Because he was so close, taking a picture. I don't know, I just went to a dark place. And then I realized he was scanning and doing what I wanted him to do. Shame on me. But that was great. So you'll see phase 3 of this program coming out in the spring. It's very weather dependent, naturally. But I have artists that are really eager to get their artwork. They volunteer, they're not compensated for this. None of us are compensated for any of the work that we do on this program. It's just really great. And I can tell you that I always point this out, that these boxes are on our Facebook page and they're on social media. And I've had people who, in this museum, who are elected to public office in DC. And we'll do a posting and it will get, you know, thumbs up, I like it, whatever, maybe 300 or so people viewed it. 7,000 people. Wow. When we first launched this program, 7,000 people commented about it or viewed it, as opposed to 300 for a congressman. So it's kind of amazing. But it has this really broad appeal, and stay tuned for more. Trying to really spread the art and culture wealth outdoors. Cuddy Court. Who has seen Cuddy Court? Oh, good. So Cuddy Court it's right behind FB Insurance, and Jess Tracy is a local Attleboro artist who created amazing work in this space. And we're going to be doing a phase 2 in the spring on this as well. So you'll see more of these creatures coming out, hopefully in April, but definitely in May. And it really has enlivened this space. Our name is Attleboro Arts Museum. And we, of course, focus on visual art, but we also have programs in language arts, music. Every opening seems to have live music in it. So, and I'm so proud of that. And performing. I would combine language and performing arts in a program. Let's say our poetry slam is a good way to demonstrate that. But our Art Lovers Book Club, that's been going on for over 10 years, is a program that it's truth in advertising. We will read a book about a particular artist or an art movement or a particular painting, and a subject matter expert will come in, or lately on Zoom, to help enrich our knowledge of either the artist or the movement. And sometimes we'll have a screening as well to really broaden the experience of reading a particular book about the arts. The flower show's coming back, March 23rd through 26th. And as you know, I'm sure, we're waiting for the smell of the mulch. The hyacinths are growing and they're getting ready. So we've been doing a lot of planning for the flower show. And since the pandemic, we've been making our way back. I would say this year it's going to be as close to what we've been experiencing in past years as possible. This year is the 25th anniversary of the flower show. I love this picture. I just think it's great. I would love to know what they were saying to one another. And it was taken during one of our members' exhibitions, and a tour was happening with a local senior center. And these folks were making their way through the exhibition. But it does tell a really wonderful story of how art can be appreciated by everyone. I'm going to give you a minute to read this quote. I mentioned a little bit about this before, where the pandemic hit all of us in a very nasty way. But for children, we saw that it was really difficult for them to come back to our art studios, and that they really needed to come back to our art studios. And these two students, who happen to be scholarship students, their family, their parents were smart enough to realize that they needed to get out of the house, to be with their peers, to be in a safe environment, and to create. And the results, I think, are going to stay with the children and definitely with the adults for quite a long time. I personally am looking forward to the next 100 years. I plan to see all of you in 2123. Any questions?
Good job.
Thank you. I hope that you do take some time to walk through the gallery and to leave your comments. Let us know who your influencers are on the wall right around the corner.